Remember how we talked about kimchi levels last time? This is the perfect accompaniment to unfermented kimchi. We're even going to show you how to make something that's pretty close to level 0 kimchi too. In the ingredient list, there's asterisks around the items I think you should buy at an Asian grocery store. Pork belly is pretty unnecessary honestly, but they do come cut at the right size if you pick it up at your H Mart. Soybean paste is available on Amazon, so I put links in the description to make it easier for you guys. Samjang's traditionally a dipping sauce that you eat at Korean barbecue, but you can actually buy it made. We have our good old red pepper powder here too. Next one up is the radish. This one, look, you have to find at an Asian grocery store. It's impossible to find the right size at Whole Foods. All the daikons and radishes are tiny unless you find it at an Asian grocery store. Everything else I found on wholefoods.com, so let's get started. No, I didn't record the washing and the peeling, but make sure you wash the radish, peel it, and then we're gonna make these little slices and turn them into long little sort of french fry shaped things. After that, put the salt on it, and we're gonna put sugar on it as well. Now, what we're doing here is we're kind of doing like a mini pickle. We're gonna let it sort of brine in this salt and sugar for a while. Make sure you use a bigger bowl than AK did because obviously she's having trouble fitting her hands in. You can put this aside and we can check in an hour. We'll gently toss it again in 30 minutes so we know that it's mixed thoroughly. Now we're back to our friend the scallion or the green onion. I mean, if anything, you should just cut a lot of this and have this always available in your house because it goes in as a topping on a ton of Korean food. Hey, on to the good stuff. Now, these are the ingredients that we need for our pork belly. Don't worry, you barely have to cut these. We're gonna take the scallion and cut it in half, and we're gonna quarter the onion, and that's it. So we're gonna take the oyster sauce and we're just gonna coat the pork. Don't do anything fancy here, we don't need a lot on there, we just need that flavor to be on the outside because we're gonna sear it quickly. Make sure you get all the sides. And we're going to put a little bit of crushed black pepper on the outside as well. Do a quick little double check, make sure that you're happy with everything. If not, you could always throw a little bit more oyster sauce on. Now my favorite part of any sort of meat dish is searing. We're going to throw it on here, get a nice little sizzle going. We're not trying to do anything other than brown the outside. Make sure you get all the sides, and if you could only do 2 at a time like AK is doing right now, just wipe the pan in between so you don't get the burnt bits on the fresh meat. Now here's the best part. We're gonna boil the pork. Look, I get it, you're not supposed to boil meat ever unless it's in a soup or a stew, but I promise you it comes out really good. You're going to put in just enough water to make sure it's above the meat level. And we're going to put in the sugar, the instant coffee, and the other veggies that we barely chop. Now this is what makes it taste really good. We're going to put in about 200 grams of the soybean paste. Make sure you sort of loosen it up thoroughly after it's in there. Once we're all done, we're going to throw the lid on, and once it's boiling, we're going to reduce the heat to medium-low and let it sit for 45 minutes. Let's go back to making the paste for the spicy radish salad. This is a pretty close neighbor to unfermented kimchi or level 0 kimchi. We're going to put all the ingredients in and just mix it right up. It should look something like this after we get everything mixed. Now remember that radish that we put away before? You should start seeing water on the bottom of it. If you don't, you can wait a little bit longer. The real test is to see how floppy it gets. Let me show you in slow-mo in a non-inappropriate way. If it's waving around and not too rigid, that kind of means that it's ready. You can check on your pork here, and if it's been boiling for about 45 minutes and it looks like it's good to go, let's move on and make our spicy radish. Oh, this is the part where AK always calls me in. What you're going to do is take the radish after it's floppy and give it a little rinse, wash off the salt and the sugar, and we're going to squeeze all the water content out of these. I finally get to do more than just narrate what AK is doing, so this is where I actually feel useful. And let's check back on our pork. This already smells so good. See, I promised you, you can't go wrong with this boiled pork. Make sure you let it sit for 5 minutes before we cut into it. Now while the pork's resting, we're gonna finish off our radish. Just like kimchi, the radish comes out sweet, salty, and spicy too. If you're scared of this spice, you can always reduce the red pepper flakes, but you're eating this with a fatty protein, so it shouldn't be too bad. Just like AK is doing here, take a little bit of the paste at a time and mix it in. If it's way too red and scary looking for you, you don't have to add more paste. You can taste as you go, but this is kind of what we want it to look like. We want it nice and red and spicy, because it's going to go really well with the pork and the vegetables that we have on the side. Let's throw a little sesame seeds on top as the garnish. So pork's been rested for 5 minutes. We're gonna cut into thin slices because everything Korean style is bite-sized. Just in case you didn't know, this is how you eat most Korean meats. You gotta get that red lettuce on the bottom, perilla leaf on top, your protein, and a little bit of spice.